Hello, welcome everybody. This is Neil with Portal to Ascension. So excited to be here with you all for another amazing event, live streaming on multiple platforms. Hello to everybody on YouTube. Hi to everybody in the Zoom and on social media. Before we get started today, I always love to start the events with a little bit interaction engagement. So if you're compelled to, go ahead and let us know in the chat room, no matter what chat you're in, where you're from, on or off planet, or just say hi and make yourself known. Let's just start creating the engagement and the excitement of what we're going to experience today. Some of you were with us yesterday where we were with Peter Sterling and we did sound, cymatics, music, and Merkaba that also streamed onto YouTube. And now we're here on Tuesday with another great event, Crop Circle Activation with Nadi. And Nadi, did you say your last name is it Hana?
Yeah.
Okay, with Nadi Hana that I'm going to introduce in just a moment here. And some of you also know that we were doing live every single Tuesday until about a month ago, and that stopped. So I want to let you know that it's going to start coming back again. Whereas on our YouTube, we have a premiere every single day of part of the 10,000 hours of footage that we're releasing right now. So all those premieres, are pre-recorded. We've done over the years, but this one on Tuesdays is always going to be a live event, so we can give you relevant, updated information, but also interact with the audience, get some questions, and create excitement for all the awareness that we're sharing. So before we get into today's presentation, I do want to share with you, and I'll share this at the end of the event today too, is the upcoming Ascension Conference, which is the 5th annual Portal to Ascension Conference. I've been on this for like 6 hours a day for like 2 weeks, getting this all together, getting the speakers ready. And this is going to be a 4-day event taking place October 1st to the 4th of 2021. So what's the date today? So we're like 1 month and 2 days away from this experience. And again, it's the 5th annual. As of this year, we started doing it twice a year. So we have a spring conference, we have a fall conference. Starting next year, the spring one will remain online. The fall one will go back to live events. And our first live one back to live events would be in Desert Hot Springs, which is going to be a destination place with beautiful hot springs that we get to dip in and all that. But let's talk about this for now. I'm just going to read the intention behind this event. Join thousands of people around the world for this online summit to co-create a reality with the full disclosure of humanity's ancient origins, our spiritual essence, the nature of reality and the universe, the truth of the extraterrestrial presence, and ultimately, the actions we can take to manifest this world. So that's what it's truly about. The theme, it's ascension. Consciousness is like pretty much everything, but the theme definitely is to create unity in this world where there seems to be so much division. What do we have in common with each other? How can we be more practical with our awareness so we can make some real change on Earth? There will be 44 presenters, 8 MCs, 4 days, 4 panels, including the experiencer panel, who Barbara Lamb, who's currently in the Zoom room, is also going to be a part of. And let me just show you some of the presenters here. I'm just going to skip around. We got Celestine Starr, Phil Gruber, Sheila Seppi, Barbara Lamb, Dan Winter, Kathleen Martin, JJ Desiree Hurtak, William Henry, Kimora Jones, an epic like extraterrestrial artist, like stuff that she creates. Foster Gamble, Murray Rodwell, Grant Cameron, Flo Karuna, Ben Carroll, Michael Tellinger, Adam Apollo, Paul Wallace, award-winning flute player Michael DeMaria, Laura Eisenhower, Jonathan Goldman, Deborah Giusti, and your MCs are myself, Alan Steinfeld, Shreya Dharma, Joan of Angels, Brendan Culleton, Omar I Am One, Michelle Anderson, and Rob Yox. So if you've been to any of our past events, I'm sure a lot of you have, you know how amazing and fun they are, but I don't think I've ever been as intentional as I have with this event, especially seeing everything going on in the world right now. It's like coming from like a deep place in my soul to just put this out there and really get as many people involved. Last year we had 8,600 people registered. This year I'm trying to go for 10,000, and it's free or by donation. So you have no reason not to show up, or even sign up, right? Sign up for the event. You can donate or you can attend for free, and hope to see many of you there. And yes, the URL that I'm posting right now, and I'll post in all the different places in a second, is ascensionconference.com. Okay, and I'm gonna do a couple announcements when we're done for today as well. So let's get into today's presentation. I am excited to introduce you to Nadi Hana, and I'll read a bit about her after I do a little. Actually, I will not read the description on the event. I'll let her just take you away and kind of explain what's going to happen today. But let me read a little bit about Nadi. Firstly, I was introduced to her and met her just, I think, a month and a half ago when we did the 2-day hybrids conference, in which the panels were actually streamed on our YouTube. So you might have seen her. She was in one of the panels there. And I just really, when we were having engagement and just watching her experience and respond to what she had experienced over the 2 days was truly authentic. And then after that, I wanted to reach out to her to see if maybe we could collaborate and work on something. But as synchronicity works, within a couple of days, she reached out to me. And now we've created this experience together. So I'm introducing her onto this platform, Portal to Ascension, for the first time. Hopefully, it's going to be a continued relationship in the years to come. So Nadi, her crop circle contact experience in 2010 initiated her reunion with the off-planet, multidimensional aspects of herself, integrating her transpersonal activation with years of experience as a psychotherapist. She supports people in reframing and destigmatizing their non-consensus reality and ET experiences. Working with benevolent intergalactic races, she serves as a transition specialist for humanity's evolutionary process. She shares esoteric teachings of multiple subjects for the expansion of human consciousness and provides light code activations in her presentations and classes. Working with benevolent intergalactic races, Nadi serves as the transition specialist for humanity's evolutionary process. She shares esoteric teachings of multiple subjects for the expansion of human consciousness and provides light code activations in her presentations and classes. So please, everybody, assist me in welcoming Nadi to Portal to Ascension. Hey, Nadi, thank you so much for being here.
Wow, Neil, thank you so much for having me. And I'm so excited for everybody who's out there. It's really fun to see everyone coming in on the chat. And I know I rounded up a bunch of my favorite crop circle enthusiasts to be here today. And I always want to give my deepest gratitude for everybody who's willing to be behind the screen for another hour and a half for, crop circles and activations. And I also want to acknowledge that I think we have one of the inspirations for the crop circle talk on the call right now. We have Barbara Lamb, and her work and Judith Moore are really a big influence for this, for all my work, for all of my fascination with the circles.
That's beautiful.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
My pleasure. So you want to go ahead and take it away? And if you want, how do you want to do questions? Do you want to wait until the end, or if I get some questions, ask you during? How should we do it?
Yeah, I'm hoping that I've left some time at the end. I think it'd be better so I can stick with the flow.
I agree. Yep. Okay, it's all yours.
Awesome. So I feel really, really blessed to have this platform and this opportunity. And I have to say that I feel as though I am channeling the information of the circles and that I am in service of the intelligence they carry. And part of my motivation is that I feel that the intelligence, the cosmic intelligence, is really vital for humanity right now. I will, from the get-go, speak to my orientation, which is that the crop circles are made by advanced civilizations that are here to help us with their technology. And let me give you an overview of the hour and a half, because I know not everybody's in that camp. So I want to give some biophysical anomalies. I want to give some evidence, we love evidence, for why the crop circles are perhaps extraordinary technologies. And I'll talk a little bit about that up front, and then have all sorts of interesting pieces about, how the crystalline structure of the soil is changed, or ghost formations, or fascinating research that's been studied, that the crop circles have been studied for decades at this point. So the second part is going to be a little bit more of I'm going to share my experience and give you my explanation for, what my experience has been. And I'm having a sense to just take a breath and really acknowledge everybody and acknowledge this moment. So let's take a deep breath together. Really actually connect with some deep breaths to your higher self, to the larger forces in this reality that have brought us here and that are sharing some of the information today. That's part of my passion, is that the crop circles help me to connect with my higher self and connect with my higher guidance. And I'm not professing to know how the circles work. I have my beliefs, I have my information, and certainly it's going to come across that I might be trying to convince you and persuade you of my perspective. But hopefully, you will be able to walk out feeling stronger in your own conviction and your own perspective, because that's part of the beauty of them, is they're completely open to interpretation. There is no right way, there is no wrong way. It's simply a reflection of our consciousness, and it's really an invitation to explore the next level wherever it is that you're starting from. So hopefully I'm of service to that. And yes, so I don't profess to know how they work. I'm going to talk about some information where people do have an idea about how they work. And so we'll do some of the biophysical anomalies, and then we'll get into some of the more metaphysical aspects of spontaneous healings and the channeled information that comes through, and the fact that the circles are working to influence our DNA. Really fantastic stuff. We'll get into that. And then I'm going to share a series of crop circles, and the idea is really just to absorb, right? There's a tremendous amount of energy and activation happening, and so much of this I'm going to send you. I'm going to put out there so much information, right? I'm just going to be rapid firing. Don't worry about it. You don't have to remember any of it. The whole goal of the presentation is for you to just sit and see the crop circles, experience them in a non-linear way. And they're already working with us, right? They're already here. And so perhaps adapting and adopting a stance of receptivity, right? And just being open to some new information, and open to actually some really far out information. So I'm going to start and take a quick sip of water. I'm going to start with the stuff that makes sense. And then I'm going to get a little bit into more of the still understandable but far out reaches of what the circles might be about. And then we're going to go all the way talking about the Arcturian motherships and the channeled information and the holographic fractal information that's transmitted through the crop circles. So hopefully we're going to please everybody, and we're not going to necessarily end up on the mothership, but you might have gone up to the ship and said hello by the time we're done with this. Oh, that's a lofty claim. Okay. So let's get into it. I want to share the presentation, and I'm going to have just a couple of slides, and then I want to share a little video that was made like almost 12 years ago by Kimberly and Foster Gamble, and that was the movie Thrive. And let's see, is it going to work? Play from the start. Here we go. So the movie Thrive 10 years ago was talking about a lot of different potential for humanity and how we can tap new energies and new consciousness. And they put together this little piece about the crop circles. And so just as a really basic overview here, this was one of the first noteworthy crop circles. This was Alton Barnes in 1990. And this was really when we started having a clue that the formations, there was more going on with the formations. There was a consciousness, there was an organizing principle behind them. And in 1990, we had this first imprint onto the planet. And I'm going to talk about how they're made as far as we know. And here, this first contact, basically, of crop circles with humanity. And I just want to do a double check. Neil, are we all set? You're seeing the screen and everything's working well? Looks like we are, but I don't want to assume. I'm going to assume. Let me just stop my share, though. Neil, are you good? Can you see me when I share my screen? You're muted, so I can't tell. It looks like I am. I'm just going to keep going then. Okay, great. So it's working. I'm getting chats.
Nadi, I'm sorry. I just stepped away. What'd you say?
I just wanted to make sure my audio and my screen was working.
Screen's working now. Yep, we see it.
Okay, so you're seeing the Alton Barns, you're seeing the crop circle?
Yes.
Fabulous! Okay, so here we've got this first massive sharing of intelligence, right? And it broadcasts somehow, right, into the human collective. It's somehow influencing all of us in ways that we probably definitely have no idea, right? But all of a sudden there's this dissemination of images. And even though we're not making sense of them, we're drawn to them. And this was the start of the phenomenon. And so I'm going to, I want to give a heads up that I don't necessarily focus on the different places that they were made. I definitely want to honor the geology and the study over decades of where they are and how they're, where they're placed. But I don't actually include the names. I know that this was Alton Barns in 1990, but other than that, I only know generals about where they're placed and when. So this is the video from Thrive from Foster Gamble, and we'll watch this. It's about 5 minutes long. Okay, great. So let me leave that pretty image up because I really like that one better than what I'm going in. So a couple of things that I was inspired by Foster to say. It's 4:30, so I'm just not going to have nearly enough time. So I might go a little speedy here, but I will try to breathe through all of it. So part of what I like about that video is that he encourages us to go from the 2D interpretation to the 3D interpretation. And then beyond that, to a multi-D interpretation of these formations. These are alive. They are incredible beings, right? And I learned so much by putting this presentation together, and it was my own activation. And I'm going to share the new piece of information that I discovered. But just they provide an ongoing activations. It's like, the technology, the advanced technology transcends time and space. And so I have had a whole new activation in putting this together, and I'm hoping that everyone does as well. And so just wanted to add those two pieces. So starting with a few of the biophysical anomalies, right? One of the things that really is a significant indicator of the difference between man-made and advanced civilization, or ET, is the way the crop is laid, right? So you have one really basic demonstration here of how when the stalks, when they're alive, they're curved, and then when they are tramped down, they look curved as well on the ground. But when there's technology involved, the wheat, any type of crop, but this wheat stands straight, right, or is flattened straight. So this is one example of a biophysical anomaly, the biology, the geology that is physically altered when some of the different technologies are used. And I really like to overuse the word biophysical anomalies because it's basically a fun term for all of the weird stuff that happens in the crop circles. And the lay of the crop is really a fantastic biophysical anomaly that is, really indicates some of the sophistication that's involved in making the formations. The swirling of the crops, the way the intricate directions that the lays are woven into and laid down, it's all, you look at some of the lay and you go, oh gosh, that just does not seem possible, especially with some of the fascinating details of the field, right? Like the way the formations show up in different fields is also really revealing in terms of like fields in August and the late in the season are very, very crispy, very dried, and very easily show human contact, right? So you would not be able to have a lay like this with this fragile, intricate formations. A human imprint would not, it wouldn't work. There's just simply evidence that says, oh, this has to be a different technology than man-made. I'm going to say that a couple of times because I do want to impress the difference, right, and the potential of other technologies. This is an example of a crop made completely of ley, and there's all sorts of information of this formation that we'll get into a little bit later. But this is, we have image after image, and I only have 4 or 5, but there are just hundreds of examples of the intricacies of the ley as the indicator of greater technologies that know how to work with the crop, our planet, the energies, and consciousness. So I can see, as I describe all of the biophysical anomalies, I can see my bias. Like, I'm really going to try to leave room for, and honor the interpretation of them being man-made, but I can tell that I'm really trying to convince everybody. And I want to just acknowledge that any interpretation is absolutely legitimate and unique, and I want to honor everybody's experience, because so do the crop circles. So these are just a couple of images of circles that are made entirely of the ley. Nice deep breath. I get very excited when I talk about the circles. My sense is that as the circles throughout the years evolved in their complexity, and human efforts to hoax or make the crop circles by hand, as human efforts started up, the crop circles got more and more complex with the ley and the different subtle patternings of how the crop was woven, because that's actually the really hard part to recreate from a man-made perspective, which is why I'm focusing on the ley for a minute. And just as a note, I don't go into the motivations behind crop circles being man-made or hoaxed, or basically the disinformation campaign. I don't go into that motivation. I stay with the higher vibrational frequencies of the crop circles, because that's what I believe they're here for. However, it does need to be noted that there are some fairly nefarious forces that are involved and engaged in suppressing the information, because it's extremely powerful information. The technology contained in these formations can literally lead to the liberation of humanity in terms of free energy devices, or the activation of our DNA and the expansion of our consciousness. Like, it's really big stuff. And so there has been a very sincere effort to keep it known from the public, which is why we don't actually see a lot of this on mainstream news. Jesus, can you imagine? Throw a crop circle in right now into the the Delta virus. What would that be like? God, I don't mean to be glib, but we could really use the information in the crop circles. It's really important that we actually be applying it right now to balance the intense onslaught of fear and scarcity-based programming. I am getting ahead of myself. There's just so much. It's hard to stay linear. But point being, the information in the crop circles is very potent, which is why I get so excited about sharing it. And this is one really lovely slide that, indicative of the fact that the circles are so delicately held and delicately created that, with any kind of man-made intervention, you wouldn't get the preservation of a nest full of eggs. So, albeit with the technology, we don't know the state of what the eggs are in. However, the point is made. So the next indicator, the next biophysical anomaly, is the phenomenon of ghost formations, where the patterns are literally stay in the field for years and influence the yield of the crop for several years. And it speaks to the fact that the crystalline structure of the soil is altered when genuine crop circles are made. This is part of how you can actually tell the difference between man-made and advanced technologies. And there's many, many reasons why that would explain the ghost formations, but the crystalline structure of the soil being changed is the most significant one. And I want to give a shout to, I want to get it right, the BLT research team, which was Burke, Levengood, and Talbert. These were the folks that really pioneered over the past decades and gave us the information about the soil, the impact of the soil structure and the electromagnetics of the fields, and the different empirical evidence that we have to offer to support advanced technologies being involved in the crop circles. This one is outrageous. Look at the geometry. It just endures, right? I resurfaced the remnant field, right? And I just was lost in the preservation of the geometry, right? So here is the star tetrahedron. This is also the Merkaba, which is the shape of our light body. This is incredible geometry encoded into the crop circles, and I'm going to get into what it means that the geometry is encoded in the crop circles a little bit down in the talk. Just a couple more, right? So we see the ongoing imprint, right, of this technology. So let me see. There's a couple more. We're moving quickly here, moving so quickly. So the next piece is that we move from some of the more physical biophysical anomalies, and there are so many that need to be noted. There's the change of the seed productivity and nutrition. I mean, so much of the technology influences the actual crop for beneficial purposes. Let's see. I mentioned the electromagnetics. There's the energy lines that are, you can Dow as the energy lines that are invisible. All sorts of phenomenon of like birds flying around crop circles. Like there's just an endless list of the tangible, measurable, physical manifestations of genuine crop circles that are not replicable without the advanced technologies that are making them. So the next piece is how crop circles interface with our consciousness. And this really, I'm just making mention here, and this is actually the theme of the rest of the talk, which is there is a direct relationship between the circle makers and human consciousness. And there are hundreds of anecdotal stories of experiencers who have made requests for certain formations, for certain patterns, and had the pattern revealed in the next days or months, or very soon after putting it out into the field, so to speak. And as you can see, this is a demonstration of electromagnetic propulsion, right, from this NASA physicist who wanted to see some demonstration of his science project. So we don't necessarily have ways of measuring the interface of the consciousness, but that is a huge, tangible phenomenon that happens not only when you're on the fields or in the fields, but also because the circles transcend time and space, you can have direct relationship and consciousness influence with the circles at any time, right? Synchronicities. I've had so many experiences where I'm working directly with the crop circles, and then some sort of astonishing synchronicity comes as a direct result of working with the circles. And that's I only know that through my own experience, and I'll try to explain a little bit about that in a minute. The other thing we know is that there are very consistent communications around astrological events, right? So this circle appearing 2 days before the total solar eclipse of 2017 changed my life. I'm not sure if that was a big event collectively, right? And so there's this communication again and again of collective experience, global experience, cosmic experience of how we're all related, and the you know, the suggestion, right, that we are related, that we are connected to a galactic community, that there's so much more going on. And that's part of the suppression, unfortunately, is that, you know, the powers that be, quote unquote, don't want us to know that there is more going on. It's an effort at, you know, sort of controlling our extraordinary capacities, and part of those capacities are our connection to our star nations and to our advanced civilizations, who are, for the most part, benevolent, who are wanting to help us. So that's the only example of a celestial intervention, but there are so many. And the next piece is just another reminder of the piece that Foster went over, that they are directly responding. It can be an immediate response or 27 years later, right, where there's, you know, this direct interface that, of course, is not acknowledged by larger agencies, the government agencies. And that's just about all I'll say. I've said enough about the powers that are trying to suppress the information. But this is a clear indicator to me that there's advanced communication. I'm going to say that probably 40 times. The other thing that's really important is the placement of the crop circles, right? The circles happen all around the world, but the vast majority of them do happen in southern England. And they happen, they interface, some of the information is that they interface with the ley lines and the energy of the earth and the specific geology. And we know southern England to be so historically rich with activating energies of all the sacred sites, and the potent geology of the sandstone, of the chalk, and how it interfaces with the earth. There is so much information to share with you in an hour and a half. It is so ridiculous. So all of that is just to say that where the circles are placed is so important. And there's also this like attention getting element, right? Where this circle appears midday right across from Stonehenge, right? Like obvious and in plain sight. This is an incredible formation it's called the Julia set, but it's a fractal hyperbolic design. Really much more to say on that one. And so beginning to explore the different images and how they work so powerfully with our unique psyche, I want to talk a little bit about how, you know, my journey with the crop circles has influenced the fact that I'm doing this here today, and influenced my own evolution. I have to take deep breaths. I get so excited, and the energy just starts like really pouring through me. So this is one of the most amazing formations to my way of thinking, and part of this piece inspires me on so many levels. And it will be a total reveal of how far in the crop circle rabbit hole I am. So this formation is fascinating because it did happen in 3 different waves, right? So that's another interesting piece of information, is that they don't all just come in one moment. They come in sometimes, there's quite a few that have come in 3 different stages, right? So the first image was the first satellite. I call this the satellite, but it's Milk Hill at Alton Barnes in Wiltshire. For me, it will always be the satellite. And then the second piece was this add-on here. And then the third piece was what I call the code, right? And if that doesn't look like communication, I don't know what does. And so I was a little bit obsessed with this one. It's quite a large formation. And let's see, here's the code uniquely. And it's not, you know, it's not that great. I don't have any great wide angle pictures of it. So my time spent with this crop circle was somewhat challenging. Although this is a good one. But I was so activated by that code that I needed to draw it. And part of my process is really about kind of a full immersion into the crop circles, where they are working with our entire psychic system, our entire sensory awareness, helping us to really expand into our multidimensional aspects. But we're really cut off, so we don't even really know what's happening with an activation. We're not even aware that our systems are being turned on. We're not aware at the level of our DNA that that we're coming alive. But all we know is that we're just obsessed and compelled, and very much like Richard Dreyfuss in Close Encounters of the Third Kind, right? Where he just can't get enough of recreating the tower. And so this was really one of my more mashed potato moments. And it comes in waves as you're working with different crop circles. And so I've had, this was one of my more serious waves. And I took it to the extent where this is the black and white version of the code that is on the crop circle. And this is a still taken from the movie Contact, where they're trying to decode the messages, right? And so there's this part of my brain that wants to figure it out. And then there's this part of me that isn't going to figure it out and really knows the best thing I can do is to receive the information. And I'm just going to play this tiny little piece because it really shows, like I said, like, you know, I just say what a geek I am, honestly. Here we go, 2 minutes.
Buried within the message itself is the key to decoding it. Within the layering of the matrix, we have these basic equations. So with this very elementary foundation, they've given us a kind of general scientific vocabulary. We now have the symbols for true and false.
This was the key, to put it simply, that allowed us to decipher their language for physics, geometry, chemistry, next frame, Ellie.
Yes, and when we apply this to the rest of the message, we find this.
Those look like engineering schematics, almost like blueprints.
Yes, it is our belief that the message contains instructions for building something, some kind of machine.
A machine? That does what, Doctor?
Well, we don't know. It might be some type of advanced communication device, or it could be a teaching machine of some kind, or it might turn out to be some kind of a transport.
Transport?
There's no proof of that.
The fact.
No, there's no proof of any of it. So that is one of my all-time favorite movies because, of course, the information coming through the pulsing sonic transmissions from outer space contain the blueprints for the time travel device. And all of that is to say it's parallel, which is why I put it in there. That kind of information, that kind of information is really what we're talking about that's in the formations. And that's part of why I lean to the advanced civilizations and the attempt to transmit that information to us. So there's the element of decoding on the physical realm, and there's lots of research to support, lots of ability to really break down the code, break down the geometry, and decipher some of the information. Parallel, there really isn't a way to measure the sort of psychosocial, energetic, dimensional aspects other than our unique experience, right? So I can measure my expansion with the crop circles through my evolutions, through my ability and my desire to experience them and share the information and help others have an experience, or I should say, invite others to have an experience like the one I've had, because I know that my multidimensionality, my full expression of who I am and who I came here to be, that's what the crop circles have helped me with. And that's really, I believe, what they're here to help everybody with. So this particular circle blew me out for quite a while. I got really, I would say, obsessed, again, very much like the other one. And I began to draw it. And I share my story in large measure, so that if this happens to you, please understand that it's sort of normal and that you'll be okay. And then if you have had this happen, just to validate, yeah, you're not alone. This is what happens. So I ended up drawing this in many, many different colors. And as you work with it, as you draw the crop circles, there's a completely different relationship to them, right? There's this, it's just a deeper level of activation, because if you imagine you're drawing and there's just full immersion of your consciousness and, you know, aligning the hemispheres of your brain in these altered states, it's powerful. I highly encourage everyone to try drawing them. These were just freehand. And I also do a lot of sacred geometry. So I had the foundational interpretation and understanding for the crop circles. So I started putting the crop circles on transparencies and then laying them over different geometries and really, really going into the depth of those levels of the crop circles. And then things just really started exploding in such a beautiful way. And I started going into realms where there was so much flow about the art and the creativity and the activation that can come from them, that I ended up needing to do an art show about them. So I had a huge show going on with a lot of geometry, and I had a blank wall, and I said, okay, that's where the crop circles are going. And so all of this is to say that do understand if the process becomes overwhelming. That's what's happening. That's what your system is calling in and wanting a huge evolutionary leap. This one I got obsessed with also, and this one is a great example of when we start to decode the information, right? So when researchers broke down the binary code, it ended up translating into an advanced math theorem, right? Which is called Euler's identity, and is an obscure piece of advanced mathematics, which is usually reserved for the specialist of the of math. And but it also has this it's known as the God formula, or the most beautiful theorem in mathematics. And you know, really trying to communicate the unification of mathematical disciplines, and really the interconnectedness, right, of our basic interpretations of our reality. And let's see, I wanted to add just another breakdown of the geometry when I talk about people decoding. This is a circle from this year. Really love this one. The math in here is outrageous. You can see, again, some of the sophisticated lay around the outside, but then also this one is just extraordinary in terms of the it's got the phi ratio, it's got this fractalizing infinite pattern, and there's lots of sites. Crop circle connector, there's tons of websites that can illustrate the geometrists and the mathematicians who have interpreted the circles and the formations, and then also the artist. Oh, did I not put that one in there? That's too bad. I thought I put a really beautiful one in there. It's really stunning. There is so much beautiful recreated art based on the circles, and I want to say temporary temples. And Karen Alexander is a really wonderful artist who takes the formations and adds her own interpretation. And I just want to encourage everybody to go look at the art. So this is a circle from this year, and I want to move into the latter part of the presentation, so to speak, which is the more esoteric elements of the crop circles, right? So we've looked at some of the biophysical anomalies. We've looked at some of the more easy to measure empirical evidence of the circles. And, you know, there's also the consciousness aspect and how it interfaces with humanity, and hopefully sharing my own experience of how the circles interfaced with my own psyche and the inspiration that came from that. These are all the different levels of what we know so far, right? And now I want to get into the more esoteric elements that we don't necessarily know, quote unquote, other than through channeled information. And this has to do with the realm of spontaneous healing and altered states of consciousness and the dissolution of time in the circles, and the phenomenon where our consciousness is really shifted by being in the circles. And you don't have to be in the circles. They really do transcend time and space and affect you similarly, even if you're looking at them, ones that are 30 years old. So this is the more sophisticated information where we're talking about our DNA being activated. And how do we possibly know this other than through the channeled information? Because we do not yet have some of the tools to measure the influence of the circles. Like we're catching up. We now know that the circles contain sonic frequencies because the technology is because they are made with light and sound, and so we're finally picking up that part of the sort of psycho-spiritual aspect are the sound frequencies, and our technology is learning or revealing the potency of sound to shift matter, right? So we're going to go into some of the more esoteric understanding. And for this, I am going to be reading from Judith Moore's information. But let me briefly, before I do that, let me just stay on the idea of how the crop circles are made, because that is obviously, that's the go-to question. So my belief is that the information that Judith Moore has from the Arcturians and from the advanced civilizations is how they're made. And so to give due diligence to our best interpretation in the third dimension on how to interpret how they're made, there are basic interpretations that suggest that ion plasma vortexes descend from the ionosphere into a crop that spins the plant matter, right? And that how it somehow interfaces with the soil, the earth energies, the plants themselves. And we're really not sure. There's so many different variables. We're really not sure about that technology, right? And we could say, we would say that it's descending from the ionosphere, but actually, but then there's the ionosphere beyond the ionosphere, and that's coming from the ships and the technology. But this idea that there's a technology, whether it's microwave technology that's used in short bursts, or whether it's balls of light that are coming in and organizing the crops in a certain way, we don't really understand. We know that water is a very important element to the creation of them. So there's all sorts of different aspects that we know are pieces of the puzzle, but there's no definitive way to say, oh yes, here's the technology that is activating these formations. And then also, I'm getting so excited again. Also, why do the formations look the way they look, right? There are certain patterns, there are certain styles that look sort of unique and like almost families, right? Like certain, you could say even civilizations are prone to one type of design versus another. And let me see what the next slide is that I have here. Oh yes, so this is this one, we're back to this one. And I think what I want to do is skip to the next one. So bear with me. We might come back to that one. We might not. There are so many to get to. So what I'd like to do for this segment of, the slideshow is to give you the channeled information for how the crop circles are made. And so I'd like to read a little bit from Judith Moore's information. And she is talking about the technology and how the Galactic Federation is involved. And so what I'd like you to do is, as I'm reading some of the information, I'm going to just have circles up on the screen, and the invitation is to perhaps take in some of the information, but also to really just let yourself receive and notice if you're having any kind of experience. Notice if you are fascinated by one, or also repulsed by one. There can be really strong reactions. There can also be nothing. So maybe just bringing observation to how the circle is sitting with you, or anything that's happening. It might be happening right now. It also might happen in the future or in the dream time. These are definitely influencing us in ways that we are not quite registering. So let me make sure. I feel like I'm forgetting something, but I'm going to leap in, and then I'm sure if I am forgetting something, it will come through. So one thing that Judith talks about in her information is the idea of star glyphs. And I'm going to get to that, because to me, that's the most fascinating aspect of all of this, is the way the technology is using, what's the word, hieroglyphs to, hieroglyphs, geometry, the universal language, telepathy, to imprint our psyches, right? And this is why I consider them advanced. So, where did that thing go? So, how they are made. So Judith goes on to say, the frequency patterns are carefully engineered on Arcturian motherships under the careful scrutiny of the Galactic Federation. And the team of researchers and physicists are chosen from a pool of scientists dedicated to the principles of cosmic peace and the interdimensional evolution of unity consciousness, right? So just like we, there's races out there, and they have their physicists and their engineers and their mathematicians. And so this is the Galactic Federation of beings that are in our wellness and our evolution, so that we can really reach unity consciousness, so that we can really survive ourselves. And that comes from activating our multidimensionality, activating the greater capacity within us. So the biochemical formulas of fractal essences of light and sound frequencies are accompanied by planetary alignment frequencies, right? So they're using technology of light and sound in conjunction with planetary frequencies and the energy of the crop and the specific location and all of that. And this is going to get fairly far out technologically, and we are talking about some fascinating information that I will make sure to make available to you, and links and everything. So the motherships relay frequencies through beaconing devices to a pattern of starships positioned in key grid points in the biosphere. The signals are then relayed to a local transmitting station where their frequencies electromagnetically supercharge the local energy systems, right? Basically, you have a series of chain, this is so beyond our linear capacity. The information is telepathically sent from the Arcturian mothership to local ships. And this is all happening telepathically with ways of communication that are just beyond our reach, but that we could get to by working with the crop circles and other practices of activation. So there's also a process of integrating the DNA and sacred geometrics of humans present in the area who have responded to the cosmic call, right? So again, this is some sophisticated stuff if you want to go there. So once the integration is complete, of working with the earth energies, the human consciousness energies in the area, a microgenerator beams the accumulated energy frequencies into the core life energy cells of each of the grains in the crop. This hypergenetic frequency within the grain is used to energetically fund the process of making the crop circle. Energetic waves, much like microwaves, utilizing creative energy patterning, are then beamed into the sandstone layers of rock, causing surging of water under the location of the proposed crop circle, right? And I need to keep moving on crops. So the water is then heated with the energy beams, creating a mist of vapor that softens the stem of the plant, and this makes it more pliable, allowing it to bend and form to create the pattern. So the numbers and layers of the grain, the direction for the lay, all of the stems, the quality of the atmosphere, and the type of crop are all factors. This is an extraordinary formation. This was one of the early ones, and I don't know that I can get right into that. There's so much information about all of them. So, right, that's my 4 o'clock timer. I want to make sure I'm on point here. So one of the really fascinating, well, it's all fascinating, isn't it? I'm trying to save a piece of information that I don't want to reveal yet. It's a very dramatic reveal. I want to tell you a little bit about the channeled information, specifically about this crop circle, right? So Judith has this information, you know, that I just read about how the formations are made. And then there's also channeled information about each unique circle that comes from the same source of that informed her of how they're made, right? So this one in particular, she got the information. This is made in 1991 in Barbary Castle. This is one of the very early ones. And this is, the message of this one was that this crop circle is the balancing resonator for the cosmic law of perfection through imperfection. This is the law of radical discord, the divine principle of balance of unequal counterpoints within the matrix of divine creation and evolution. So there is the general transmission of information from the advanced civilizations. There's the general information of how they're made and the transmission of energy that's interfacing with our DNA. And then there's these unique interpretations. And what I'm experiencing right now is a little bit of brain scramble. So my guess is that that's happening for many of us. And what I want you to do is take a breath, because that is the manifestation of an activation. That is the combination of all of this information interfacing with these incredible formations. And the hemispheres of your brain are literally aligning. It's part of the phenomenon. It's an extraordinary brain fry. And we need that in order to access the dormant aspects of our multidimensionality. So go ahead and let your brain scramble. Just let go of the need to retain the information. Let go of the need to figure this out, and just tune into your sensory reception. Tune into a physiological experience or your breath, or close your eyes, whatever you're needing to do. But that is the next level of the crop circles. And I'll take a nice deep breath. There's just so much information. So I just have a few more circles that I want to go into, and that's an understatement. But what I'd like to do now is to tell you a little more about the oversight of the project, because I really, we went from sharing the sort of mundane biophysical anomalies to the more esoteric interpretations and metaphysical interpretations of energy and consciousness, and then moving into sort of the level of interpretation that you don't usually hear. And this is the part that really floats my boat, is the oversight of the advanced civilizations and their participation in our well-being and their participation in the planet's well-being. These are species that are here that are very, very intent through contact, through telepathic communication to assist us. Or, at this point, help us survive ourselves. Because as we know, there is so much fear being broadcast that it's very important that we be balancing those frequencies with the positive activations. And so the crop circles offer that. And they also offer me a lot of hope. They remind me of the circle makers. They remind me of our advanced civilizations that are here, that are benevolent, that want the best for us. And they are, so to speak, us in the future, coming here to give us the precise activations, the precise geometries, the precise designs that can help us into that next level of unity consciousness, right? So the oversight of the project, And, just continue to take nice deep breaths. I'm going to close up pretty soon here. And like I said, if you're fried in your brain, good job. You're doing it right. So, oversight of the project. So, and this is, again, channeled information from Judith Moore in the book by Judith and Barbara Lamb, which is Crop Circles Revealed, the Language of the Light Symbols. So the light symbols are very, very powerful. They are individual glyphs. They are individual activations. And the star glyphs are the universal language of light of the great records of Ra. And the records of Ra are the universal records preserved within the light frequencies of the great central sun. So we're tapping into huge levels of consciousness. And let me see, because what is our brain going to take in at this moment? Not much. I feel very saturated with all of this, right? Let's see. So basically, as a summary, there are schematics and blueprints and designs of each crop circle in the mothership, the Arcturian mothership, in crystalline chambers of light that project a holographic image, which is a fractal formula of the light and sound frequencies of each circle. Right. So the technologies making these are encoded with holographic fractal technology that has the ability to permeate our consciousness and to work with our psyches in unique and sophisticated ways, so that they're able to work collectively and they're able to work individually, and that each circle creates or contains its own glyphs that are actually programmed in conjunction with your consciousness. And the best we can do basically is to act as a radio transceiver, right? And this encoded information is downloaded into our brains, which are magnificent tools that are little used until we've recently figured out to work with our consciousness. And so the circles contain large amounts of information. And all of this sophisticated intelligence is part of why I say that they are gifts from our future selves, from our planetary and galactic alliance, from those who are here to help us remember that we all contain the necessary aspects for our own liberation and activation. There is just so much I could share with everybody. I feel like I hit a point. I feel like I am being informed of the saturation point. We could go on. There's 30 years of crop circles, but I think I'm going to end the transmission. Let me just show a couple more, because we have just a few more minutes, and then we'll get into questions and curiosities. And I want to show you. This one is my own personal. Well, this is the one, when first I saw this one, I thought, oh, that's where I'm from. And so that was my unique relationship with this one. And then this one, we're going to come right back to. This one, if I'm going to do a huge reveal, is the sigil for my ship, my fleet, right? This one really felt like my own personal star glyph, my own personal activation that was aligned with my DNA. And the story behind this one is long and extraordinary. But I want to read one more interpretation from Judith on this particular crop circle. And I'm just going to find that as you work with it. So this is July 31st, 1999 at Roundway. This crop circle emanates a frequency that has dual purposes. One effect is the evolution of genetically superior seeds for food sources. The other is the evolution of the collective consciousness to accept, acknowledge, and respect the mystical nature of the seeds and their powerful influence on the planetary balance. So, yes, I believe that is the place to stop. So I'm going to come out of the screen share and open it up. Let's take some nice deep breaths together before we do that, and just kind of ground in all the information. See if you can let your system absorb, not trying to figure it out. And feeling your body with every breath. Having an awareness of your entire sensory system, your entire being, as best as we can connect to all of those multidimensional aspects of ourselves. And then as we come back, see if you can hold on to that space that you're in, or just make a note of it and make some space for it in the rest of your day. Holy cow, I think we just went to the moon and back. So Neil, I'm thinking that you're there. I'm hoping that all of this has actually happened. And
yes, I'm here.
Yeah, let me start by checking in with you. How are you doing? Observations or thoughts?
I'm doing good. I loved everything, and not overwhelmed. Just it just fueled my soul, really. Gave me passion, inspiration, and then you sharing your passion for it is just like, it makes me excited as well. So I'm excited from it.
Okay, awesome. I'm glad you're not totally overwhelmed. I always try to balance this understanding that some folks are brand new to it. Some folks are pros, right? That's talking about the mothership is not impactful too much. Although I should take into consideration that it mostly is your audience and also new realities. And so, most have the ability to swing with the sort of extraterrestrial interpretation.
Yeah. And, because I've done quite a few crop circle presentations with people over the years, and a lot of them do stay with just the anomalies, talking about what's going on there. They definitely, they want to pose the question that you make to yourself, like, wait a second, these can't just be man-made, something's going on, but really stick by proving it linearly. So I love that you took it to the next level. What do these have to represent in order to activate us? Because it's like the whole crop circle thing, just the fact that it's even been disproven, the people that have said that they created it, right? Even some of them have admitted that they didn't do it and all that. But if you have a conversation with a friend or family member, and I've had these, and I mention, crop circles, almost immediately they'll go, well, that was just proven. Even though those people would discredit it later, people just remember that. So I love the fact that you're still spreading the awareness about it, because there's so much to be learned from it that I think a lot of humanity overlooked because of the disinformation campaign that came along with it.
Yeah, it was a successful campaign. And this is the piece of information that I learned that I'm going to share that just blew me out. So successful disinformation campaign for sure. Now here's the thing. So when Foster is talking at the beginning about like the really crude ones that are clearly man-made, that's totally inaccurate. Some of the ones that are man-made are really sophisticated. And I would look at the books from all of these sort of pros and people who had been on the ground and people who had firsthand experience. And I would look at some of them and I go, that is clearly man-made. The genetics, the geometries are off. It seems really obvious and I feel really differently. And here's what came through in some of Judith's information is that, consider this, even those who are on the ground as humans making the crop circles, the suggestion is that their consciousness is also influenced and in relationship with the ships and with the advanced civilizations, and they are of service. Their DNA imprint, their energetics of working with the earth at that point is still higher consciousness. And that made everything okay. I didn't go into the whole mind control fear. It was more like, oh, this is a collaboration of their higher selves. and now I get it. Now I can understand and interpret that, the disinformation campaign.
It makes sense. It makes sense, especially because like if I had the art skills right now to draw an epic mandala and then put it up here, it would literally affect your consciousness.
Yeah.
So if people are doing this on a mass level where it's getting like put on websites and all over the place and hundreds of thousands of people are watching it, it's definitely having I would say a harmonious effect on our consciousness because they're harmonic geometric shapes,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So we have some questions here. Go ahead and make your comment, and if you want, we can get into these questions too.
I did want to mention, and I didn't put this in the beginning. I sort of made reference to it a minute ago. Is that not all encounters and experiences with crop circles are happy and fuzzy and warm, right? A lot of people walk into them. They have experiences of being sick or headaches for weeks and all of these things, and I do like to note that part. And my interpretation of that is still that that's part of the blockage being removed from our system in order to get to the healing and alignment. So it's all in the mix. Just want to make sure I try to acknowledge that.
Yeah, it's beautifully said, because you really don't know what's happening to you on an energetic level, right? Those things are powerful. It could be like stargates for our inner ascension, just by stepping into them.
Exactly. Exactly. I meant to put one in the show. There was one just recently made, and I looked at it. It was just 2 circles, and I burst into tears, and I couldn't stop sobbing. And I'm afraid to look at it again because it was so powerful. But they can really elicit strong homecoming responses, I think.
Yeah, and we've had a lot of comments in the room about how emotional it was for individuals that are actually joining us right now. So a lot of people are picking up on that energy and that passion.
Wow, awesome.
All right, let's get into this. So I think the clip that you showed earlier was from the Thrive movie, right? But someone's asking me where they can find that clip.
Yeah, if you just go to thrive.com, thrive.org, I think. Is it thrive.com? You can watch the movie for free. They have Thrive 2 out as well. Really great access to a lot of foundational information about the different tools that are provided to humanity for activating our consciousness.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and just quick plug about the Ascension conference. Foster Gamble will actually be there October 1st to the 4th. So we're gonna get to interview him, ask him about his process and all that. And I just posted the links in the chats once more.
That looks outrageous. That conference is like epic. There are no words to describe how extraordinary that is, Neil.
Last year I did 77 speakers, and this year I did 44. It was not hard to manage 77 people, but it was just after the 4 days, I felt like a zombie because all of my dopamine and endorphins had been like drained. It was just so overwhelming on like just my physical being, just sitting here running it. So 44, I think, is a good number. Yeah,
and I totally relate. I mean, it's part of the balance of the crop circles is wanting to jam in like so much, but also just realizing like, oh, it's just about the absorption, and we could look at one or a few for the hour and a half.
Exactly.
Yeah.
All right. So Deirdre's asking, what tones or sounds do the crop circles make, and how can we hear them? Are there any recorded tones?
Oh, that is such a great question. I would love to find that out. I know there must be. In fact, I would guarantee it. And I don't know where to tell you. I know that Freddie Silva is really the pioneer of sonic frequencies in the sounds. So he's done an incredible amount of work and presentations recently. I would start by searching him. So. Yeah.
And we just did 3 3-hour presentations with Freddie over the last 6 months that are available for free on portaltoascension.org too. But Freddie's epic. I love him.
Yeah.
That's great information. All right. So Richard's saying, how often are these happening and how frequently? I'm not sure when he asked that. So do you know what he's talking about?
No, that's a great piece of information, is that the circles, the ones in Europe, England, although everywhere, it's during the crop season. Right. So usually you start to see them early May until as late as the end of August. But it coincides with the fields. However, crop circles happen everywhere. They happen in fields of trees. They happen in the ice and snow. They happen in different substrate, right? Substances. There's one, and I didn't have time to show, a huge Sri Yantra in 1990 that showed up in a hard lake bed of dried mud pack. It was 13 miles. The whole thing put together. It was extraordinary. They happen everywhere. They happen all the time, but they concentratedly happen in the summer months when the fields are happening.
Mm-hmm. Okay, we have a comment / question here. Could all the experts in the crop circle field put out a request into the field to ETs to manifest something for us? We can help. Has it been done before? Communicate a specific request and time over a long period of time. So
Yes,
I guess
yes,
that's
and
just
yes.
setting our intention, right?
Yeah. So many of them are about intention. The best example I can give, and I would say yes, absolutely, and please, and let's, totally on board and would testify that it's real and that that's possible. I know a story of a Mayan cultural group representing the Mayan culture and heritage requested a specific crop circle that manifest in the Aztec headdress, right? That's a pretty famous one. And so they had asked for a symbol specifically. They got this incredible response, and then they harvested the center of that crop circle and then did research and, worked with the crop circle that way. And beyond that, in terms of the technologies, like contact and decoding them, I don't know that much. So that is somewhere. I know it's somewhere.
Is an emotional reaction to these circles considered an activation?
Yes, that is a great question. Absolutely. That's the one that we know that we have most access to. So tears or discomforts, also not that it's necessarily an emotion, but you can fall asleep while looking at them. And that's your mind. It's another way for your mind to check out. Like bliss, absolute bliss states are very possible and very common. So yes, these emotional responses are the way that we can gauge that our systems are being activated, but they're just the tip of the iceberg. So that's a sign that things are happening. And I also want to put in the plug, like if you're new to the crop circles and this is your first exposure, or even if you're not, this can be a seriously activating amount of information, and you may have a flood of curiosity coming. You might have that obsessive experience where you just want to be around them all the time and make collages and surround yourself with them. So just know that can happen, and it's really normal. It's your body wanting that activation, your system.
Mm-hmm. When my wife and I moved into our first house together 3 years ago, I was on a crop circle kick, and I just printed out, just like from a regular like printer, just a bunch of crop circles, and we put them up like paintings on the wall.
Yep, I've totally done that.
I even put I printed out like, I don't even know, like 5 to 10 crop circles, and I just laid them underneath my bed to activate me while I'm sleeping.
Absolutely. Under the water bottles, under the pillow. And then recently I learned that if you have a particular ailment, if you have some part of your body that's hurting, you can go online, like find a crop circle that you resonate with, print it, and then like put that near your body and consciously connect and ask for the technologies of that civilization to help with your healing. And it happens.
So David's asking, how does the timeline of your crop circle fascination match up with your experiences in galactic contact? Do you assign some causation from the former to the latter?
Absolutely, I do. And it started with sacred geometry. So I had, I took a leap of faith and I left my life that made sense. I was a psychotherapist and I had a job of over a decade, and I had a house and a partner, and that made sense. And I just really came to a sense of completion and needed the next level of integration. And I took that leap, and within weeks, I found myself at a festival running a booth, sharing a booth with a person selling crop circle pendants. So I had this massive activation and then promptly forgot about it, and then got really invested in sacred geometry. And then the sacred geometry started to align my system. The beautiful, balanced harmonics started to create balance within myself. So I had more direct access to my highest guidance. And then boom, one crop circle turned it all on. I saw it, and that was it. That was the beginning of one of the crop circle kicks. And the sacred geometry really, like, there's like a pregnant feeling where you kind of have to go out and share information. I know, Neil, it's like the same thing where and you're inspired and pushed to go share the information. So I started teaching about drawing sacred geometry. I still do. And then I had to start sharing about the crop circles. So I started doing these talks, and then of course that led to exploring the advanced civilizations that are making them, working with the Arcturians and talking about them, and then into the hybrid programs. Like, it's just this evolution. So yes, be ready for that expansion. I totally trace all of it to an intervention.
Please explain the mothership.
What? What do we have? 5 minutes left? Is that what we're doing?
We got as long as you want. We can go over.
Oh, do we? Okay. Oh
Whenever you
gosh.
have to leave.
Okay. Well, I got lots more information to share. Explain the mothership. Explain the Arcturian mothership. That is a really, really big thing that I want to tap into about the information. You know, it's basically a database, right? It's a centralized database of intelligence, multidimensional intelligence, connection. It's got information about the connection to source consciousness and our evolutionary process and how to access our higher selves. And all of that is in like a living library. And when you try to understand the sense of the mothership or the Arcturian mothership, it gets a little bit beyond our consciousness. You know, they would say that they are in 7 star systems that are outside of what we call the Big Dipper, right? The mothership is way, way far away, and they transmit telepathically. They transmit holographic information that is sent through time and space into more local, collectives of information, of ships, of stations that are closer, more local, and that can then contain, access the information from the mothership. But it is essentially, if you think about it as a source station, a source of galactic central information, it really does us the most good to think about it as a collective such as the Galactic Federation, a meeting place. And there, I just can't even get to how best to describe it. But in our mind, to understand the mothership is a centralized location of evolutionary intelligence, whether it's the Arcturians or many of the other races, you know, Andromedans, Syrians, Pleiadians, Orions. You have all sorts of civilizations meeting up to share information for the betterment of humanity, for the betterment of our galaxy, our universe, and also to manage some of the more nefarious interventions that are going on in those civilizations as well. There's a real effort to counterbalance some of the more negative and devastating influences that are also in our universe. I can't even begin to say anything beyond that about the mothership. But I'm looking at some of the piece from Judith Moore, and I think I just sort of said what it is in terms of the summary. Yeah, I did. It's a home base for lots of different races, but mostly the Arcturians and their collective consciousness. But they're not physically embodied. It's interesting. It's a whole other weekend. Mm-hmm. Do you want to add a little bit, Neil, about your how you view the mothership?
As a specific thing, I mean, I've never really contemplated the Arcturian mothership. Are you talking about like the home, like where the Arcturians are from, or an actual craft? Because what I'm getting at from what you're saying is that it's more than just a physical ship. It's kind of an energetic realm, and it's not really, you can't really explain it in words because it's nothing that we kind of like can put into this box of, you know, what it specifically is. But if we're talking about the fact that Arcturus and the beings that live in Arcturus live in a realm rather than an actual location in space, because if you were to travel there, probably wouldn't see them. But it gets into dimensions where it's pure energy, that even location as we know it, as Arcturus being there, isn't even what we really can fathom. So what I put it up down to is that as intelligent as we are as humanity, we have these limitations in frequency and language that we can't even really fathom what is going on these higher levels until we really get there or open our consciousness to it.
Right. And it's that really interesting feedback loop, right? Of then we open our consciousness to it and then we can see it more, right? So I had sort of marked it as an hour and a half, and I want to respect people's time. But if you're saying we can just keep going, I can keep going.
We have 2 more questions, so we can just do these questions and then, close out.
Okay, I do want to add. I would love to add this little piece about the star glyphs, but let's do the questions and then we'll finish on that.
Sounds good. So Marion's saying, what other types of activations have you experienced?
So many. Let's see. So let me just, well, I guess we can't get a point of clarification. What comes to mind is sharing the different things that have activated me. And then the second piece would be like, what were those activations like? So I'm going to just summarize the different experiences that have activated me, which were sacred geometry and crop circles, unified physics, entheogens, psychedelics, the different plant medicines, psilocybin. Although I'm not too much of a psychonaut, I don't want to make it sound like I am, but that is one doorway. I've had a couple experiences where I'm just very clearly not alone and connect to a larger consciousness that I know is part of the civilizations, galactic civilizations. I've also had activations through channels, different channelers that give me information and like, oh, now I'm off and following that tangent. And then different crystals, different locations. I spent some time in Mount Shasta, really activating in ways that I couldn't put my finger on. I'm currently moving to Sedona to be in those frequencies. So earth frequencies can be activating as well. And working with crystals. And there's a lot of different techniques of meditation. And I have to say, working with the Sri Yantra is my biggest tool. I've been working with it for over a decade, and it really is a magical instrument and mandala for accessing your dreams. And so the Sri deserves mention there as well. The second part of that of like, what were the experiences like? That's a whole other long conversation. So I'll just name those types of things. Yeah.
All right, last question here. The phenomena appears to be more than circles and crops, like UFOs have become UAPs. What might be the new language for the old overused term of crop circles?
God, that is such a great question. I haven't thought about that yet. Well, definitely the word formations, I think, really helps neutralize it because there are just so many different, the satellite one that I was showing. So I think formations helps, but I really want to think of a kind of better term than that. If anybody has one, please pop on. I'm going to think about that.
As humanity awakens, because I do feel there's going to be one day where on Earth, it's just known that these are like real and they come, where they've come from, or even if we don't know they've come from, we know that they're beyond earthly, right? And some sort of consciousness. So I think humanity in general will probably choose something better to call them once we all awaken up to what these are, because they're basically sacred symbol activation, Stargate portal, energy flows.
Right. Stargate portal is nice. I like that. Yeah. And I know somebody mentioned that I have some technology on that I have. This is also an activating piece. This is an arc crystal, which is advanced resonance kinetics. And it's also like my own little spaceship. Like I'm ready to hop this thing and take off. This is just another, jewelry and all sorts of different scalar energy devices are really, really helpful for getting your subtle systems activated. So yeah.
Yep. All right. So no more questions there, but do you want to close out with whatever you want to share? And then I'm going to close out with an announcement and some poetry, and then we'll be done.
Poetry. Yeah. Right on. Okay.
It's all yours.
Okay. So I hope that this has been activating, and that can look like a lot of different things. So please do keep an eye out for your dreams tonight. Keep an eye out for what the phenomenon is called astonishing synchronicities, things that suggest that there is a sophisticated level of orchestration happening on other dimensional realms, things that are designed to open our consciousness to the potential of so much more. the potential of our galactic community, the potential of our capacity as humans to interface and have relationships and to expand our own consciousness into and access all of the different profound, beautiful capacities that we have. So this is a last piece by Judith Moore, and she's writing, or the information is coming through about star glyphs and how the crop circles are encoded with star glyphs. So this is just the last piece of information about how sophisticated they really are. And I don't know, maybe everybody's on board now, but that these are other technologies. And I mean that respectfully, that it really is perfect to have your own interpretation. And I actually really encourage anyone going like, what are you talking about? That's got to be insane. Let me prove you wrong. Yes, let's have a conversation about that. So star glyphs, and this is Judith Moore channeling the information. The star glyphs are the universal language of light of the great records of Ra. Read that part. The images imprint on the neurosynapses and are encoded in your DNA. The transmissions are the basic translations of the star glyphs. The glyphs contain far more information than the transmissions do. The languages of the glyphs are extensive and deep-reaching. Their images are actually created in a form that is usable to the psyche and usable to our individual unique psyche, right? Collectively and unique. In the records of Ra, these images are pure sound and light frequencies. So your brain will be expanded beyond the limited 10% that most humans currently use and will interpret the signals into light and sound frequencies that will emanate from you, the crystalline receiver of this gift, right? So you basically will act as a radio transceiver, and this encoded information is downloaded into your brain. A magnificent tool, little used until recent evolutionary expansions of the neurosynapses in many awakened ones. Okay, so there's this collective piece where, as we all know this one, right? Where as we uniquely and individuals start to awaken, we influence the field and then make it more accessible for others to awaken as well. So I think I said what she's just going to say. This will serve a dual purpose, as you are too for activation of the collective. So too will you receive transmissions for your ascension from the varied glyphs. And each glyph is a living library of information being released into the collective mind of the universal consciousness. And encoded within our DNA are the cosmic blueprints for full activation of fractal codes. Like, this is information that is holographically transmitted, and we pick up on it telepathically. And each of us has a personal star glyph. Each is unique and different, just as each cell is a unique creation. And the star glyphs, in combination with the crop circle images, are what you might understand to be an alchemical formula for the activation of a vital pulsar code, a wonderful gift for the emergence of our individual and collective awakening. And just to clarify, the glyphs are embedded invisibly to us in the geometry of the crop circle. So it's for those to pick up on the glyph. And the suggestion is that our higher selves do see the glyphs, do pick up on the glyphs, and then activate our systems. Yes, go team.
Beautiful, thank you. Let me share this comment from someone in YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
I've never had an interest in crop circles before this transmission. Absolutely wonderful flow of pertinent information.
Awesome. I'm so glad to hear that, because it's so scrambled in my brain trying to get in everything that I'm really glad that just some things come through. The perfect information for you, just know the perfect activation has happened. So, you know, here we go.
Definitely. Nadi, thank you so much for this presentation. And I'm really just happy to be connected with you. Hope to do more and have you on more events and panel discussions sometimes in the future.
Likewise, I'm totally excited about the October. Like, I didn't know about that, so I'm glad to hear about that. And also the Starseed conference at the end of October. I'm thrilled about that. That's looking really good too.
Yeah. I was going to just share that right now, actually, and show everybody. If you want to stick around, I'm just going to go ahead and make some announcements here, and then we'll end this broadcast. Let me pull it up.
Oh, so I love seeing the comments. That's so lovely. That's so lovely. Thanks, everybody.
Yeah, there's a lot of comments, and we have I think 60 people on the Portal to Ascension YouTube right now, and another 30 on Alan. So a lot of different people are interacting.
Awesome. Keeps on the call.
And everybody in the Zoom room, just a reminder that the replay is available immediately on YouTube. So some of you are asking about the replay. Go to youtube.com/portal to ascension and you can watch it there. And please do subscribe. We just hit 40,000 people 2 days ago. So now that's like a milestone event for us. So I'm trying to like grow the YouTube as much as possible and just put out as much content there.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so here's some events coming up, everybody, that I'm excited to share. Our new website has a more updated schedule because we have almost all the events for the next 360 days scheduled, except for a few that I'm waiting for responses on. And we've started a couple of different series. So just to show you what's coming up, we do have Mary Rodwell, A Key to DNA Activation on September 18th. And this is going to be light language, ET, art, scripts, symbols, and music, all these different elements through Mary Rodwell's research that she's realized can affect our consciousness and our DNA and help us awaken to our true potential. And then the following day, right after that, is this individual Zayla that I'm working with for the first time. Just to let you know how vetted he is, we went back and forth through emails for a year and a half in discussions before we even created this event. So after a lot of discussions and Zoom calls and figuring out what we're going to do together and how we can collaborate, we're putting on his workshop, which is called the Spiritual Quickening, which will be another event that provides a lot of tools for us during these times and a lot of evidence that consciousness is shifting and what's actually going on in the planet right now. And then in October, the first Maya online conference that we've ever done, a whole entire day on the Mayan civilization. And this is actually the beginning of, I did a conference on, what was it called? I forgot the name, doing too many, but a couple of months ago, we did a conference and I was like, wow, what if we just chose a different ancient civilization every month and did a conference on that ancient civilization? So this is the beginning of that series. The Ancient Portal to Ascension presents the Ancient Civilization series. The first one's on the Maya. The next one's going to be on the Sumerians. Then we're going to do Atlantis, the Indus civilization, the Tartarian civilization, Lemuria. So every single month, there's going to be another ancient civilization we're dissecting and going into deeply. But this one, I planned specifically for the reason that in 3 weeks after this event, I'll be in the Yucatan for a whole month. Whoa. So I get to learn, not because it's my favorite place in the world. We've been there 3 times already, but I figured if we do this event right before I go, I'd be like flooded with a bunch of awareness on the locations to go to.
Wow, Neil, oh my gosh. There's going to be a before that and after you. Oh my gosh, that's incredible.
So it's going to be fun. And I started with the Maya too, because it's just so accessible compared to many other ancient sites around the world. You know, like they've made the whole entire peninsula a tourist destination for the Maya. You know, you don't get that in certain countries, especially countries that don't really have freedom, you know, like, so choosing this civilization, we get to really look at one of the key components I want to look at is that I was always taught that the Mayans vanished, they disappeared. Right. Well, there's millions of Mayans still existing in the Yucatan and they didn't vanish. And when you tell them that, they have like, what? Like, people don't think that we're still around. So part of it is to show what happened. And there was only one city that really got evacuated entirely and people don't know where they were. But that became a rumor into the entire civilization vanishing. So we're going to look into that as well. Yeah.
Well, and the whole like idea of vanishing. No. Right here, different dimension right next to us. We just don't know how to grok that, which is part of us accessing our multidimensionality, which is to know that there's parallel realities that we could just jump right into. And when we're in Tulum or we're in, you know, the Aztec energies, that we could really just access that. I hope you like come back because you might like just activate yourself right out.
Well, that's funny because, you mean when I go there and travel there?
Yeah.
Is that what you're saying? Yeah, because I'm actually going there for a longer period this time to look about potentially moving there in the future in the next couple of years.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah.
It's so beautiful. And I'll just like throw this out there right now, since we're having a conversation on this, is we actually paid a local Mayan descendant to create his own sweat lodge, his own temescal away from the hotels, because almost every single temescal, which is a sweat lodge, in the whole of the Yucatan, which is 2 entire states, Quintana Roo and the Yucatan, are pretty much owned by hotels. And the shamans are paid by the hotels to run their sweat lodges, but they get paid close to around $1 to $2 per like 10-person sweat lodge. right?
Oh, man, yeah.
So we paid one of our friends who's one of these shamans to build another sweat lodge that was away in his own village, so
Yeah.
that they can go ahead and start doing the original Mayan traditions at the sweat lodge and not be a watered down hotel.
Oh
So
man, yeah.
when I'm there for the month, actually the live weekly show on Tuesday is
Mhm.
going to be on YouTube from an ancient site. I'm going to be taking people on tours because they have great internet over there and great data service. So
Oh my
that's
gosh.
going to be fun.
Neil, wow, you're an activation. Like everything you're doing is such a huge contribution to our advancement and evolution. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I love doing it. It's so exciting.
Yeah.
All right, so let's move on here. Remote viewing 4-week course with Alan Steinfeld. His second course, JJ Desiree Hertak will be guest. He may get a couple other people on there, but 4 weeks, that's going to be starting in October. So if you want to be a part of that course, it's pretty amazing. And everybody that did the course before, a lot of friendships were started from it. Breakaway remote viewing group from the course began, and they've been going weekly since then. So if you guys want to attend that, portaltoascension.org online events. Of course, the 2021 conference. And then I'll just close out with this one right here, which is what we were speaking about a moment ago with Nadi, is the Starseed Summit. We did 2 Starseed Summits around 6 years ago. My first Starseed Summit conference was Dolores Canna's last event. That's the one that she attended. And that was our first webinar.
Wow.
Yeah, so our first webinar conference was the last one she ever did, and it was called the Starseed Summit. 6 years later, we're resurrecting it, and now it's become a 2-day online summit. It's going to be every single year. And here are some of the speakers. A lot of them are new speakers, so a lot of great information from individuals you may have not connected with before.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, Marina, awesome. Yeah, and I think Kimura's going to be on like everything all the time now with her art.
Oh my God, like she's a great addition to anything, truly. Just like looking at that art and the way she presents and carries herself is just like, it's piercing. Her energy is like on point.
Yeah.
Really love her.
Yeah.
All right, so yeah, that's that one's a 2-day event, and as always, you get unlimited replay access. If you're not signed up on portaltoascension.org, you can just simply go to portaltoascension.org, sign up right here where it says receive hundreds of hours of free presentations and info on upcoming event. Sign up there, you'll get an email immediately, and the email will give you a username and password to access 3,000 hours of free presentations, sorted by category, speaker, topic, continue watching area, add to your watch list, all the bells and whistles. So check it out. Hope to, not only interact with you guys and you join the email list, but I definitely hope that many of you can make it to our live conference, especially because we're going to have a mass meditation every single day. And I want as many people as possible to be on that live event so we can really do the Maharishi effect, and affect the consciousness of the planet by just tuning into these energies.
When in the day is that going to be? Like, what's the plan for that?
So the schedule will be up on ascensionconference.com today, but at 10 a.m. every single day is the mass meditation Pacific.
Okay. How do you tune into that? I didn't know about that.
So ascensionconference.com, you can sign up there for free. Or if you're on YouTube, we're going to be on Alan's YouTube. We're going to be on our YouTube. We're going to be on Facebook. So all over the place. But if you want to specifically be engaging in the YouTube, because hopefully we get a few thousand people just here interacting with us, and then obviously the other platforms, just go to ascensionconference.com and sign up there.
Awesome.
Okay. All right, Nadi, do you want to say a few closing words about, I don't know if you're open for people to contacting you. Do you have your work anywhere else? What's coming up for you? And then I'll do poetry and that'll be it.
Awesome. Yeah, perfect. So you can find me at galacticrosegeometry.com. And that's my website. And I have to say that the last class event list was for July because I've been off doing a host of inner work and moving around to Sedona and back to Portland and kind of in a receptive of activation mode. And so that's going to be updated. And the next thing I'm working on, I want to say, I know Michael's on the call right now, but I'm collaborating with Michael Ney on a documentary called Beyond Being Human. And it's very much the early stages, but very, very cool projects. And also working a lot with Zenka Caro and the Exo Metaverse and Mark Sims, who just did the Making Contact conference, working behind the scenes to bring people into a platform of communication and connection, kind of bringing all of the different disparate factions of ET world, you know, all the contact platforms and all of the research platforms, and trying to get everybody united because we really want to come together, like a lot of what you're doing, Neil. And so, you know, I'm branching a little bit from teaching and events into more collaborations, but I'm also going to get back to teachings once I settle down in Sedona, which will be October. I'm going to put some things up on the schedule. But feel free to reach out. You can email me through the website. And I think there's one other thing that I'm forgetting. Doing that and that and that, and I'll remember. Those are the things that I've got on board right now. So, also, yeah, that's it. Working with Sheila Seppi, who is an amazing human. In terms of she's put together the Wish Alliance, which is walk-in indigos, starseeds, and hybrids. And so really looking into the hybrid program, that's a big part of what Michael Ney is going to be doing together. We'll be doing together is interviewing Mary Rodwell and lots of people who have been pioneers of the hybrid program and understanding humanity as a collective genetic endeavor with extraterrestrials. So all sorts of interests and ways to find me and passions. So
beautiful.
Yeah.
Thank you. And just to second the Wish Alliance, that Portal to Ascension's in partnership with the Wish Alliance. So you're going to be seeing a lot more. We're going to do more YouTube. Actually, I have all the videos from the Wish Alliance weekly events, and I'm going to be releasing them on our YouTube pretty soon and inviting a lot of people to go there. So stay tuned for the emails, because Sheila's really created something epic in regards to creating a resource of not only awareness and information, but an archive of people and what they do and what they specialize in, so that we can have a one-stop shop for all of this, you know, like who we need to connect with. Hopefully soon there'll be ability to put your city and state in the world as well and connect with local light workers, you know.
Yeah, she's amazing what she's doing. I mean, everybody's amazing, and this movement of expansion. And I also have a bunch of videos up at my YouTube, which is Galactic Rose Geometry, and I work a lot with Alan Steinfeld. Also, I love to join him on his ET roundtables every Wednesday on his new reality show. So we're all it's just a party. We're just getting together and getting the word out, and it's next level, because we have to right now. Like, look at what's going on. It is so vital for us to be feeding this energy.
Yeah,
so
yes. Seriously.
You, everybody. Yeah.
Thank you, Nadi.
Yeah.
All right, everybody. So thank you so much, everybody, for being here. We're going to close out with some poetry. And I picked a few poems that kind of are in alignment with, you know, the extraterrestrial thing. So this is going to be kind of like a meditation / activation. We're going to start a little slow with this first poem that's called The Source. The second one's called It Was Spoken, and then Rejoin the Galactic Federation. And then I might do, these are the ones that I'm reading, and then I might do a freestyle one before we close out.
Awesome.
So if you want, you can take some deep breaths, you can close your eyes, or you can just stay fully present and listen to the words. The tunnel shines bright light of frequencies, quantum realities that I step into by breathing in the ether. Starbursts from the galactic center disperse newly recycled matter to the ends of the galaxy, where resides all of humanity. Looked at from a distance, this infinity symbolizes consistency, an everlasting mentality, consciousness gravitationally inclined. We see so many stars in front of my eyes, gives a black hole its disguise, pull us closer to the origin, slowly, because we just begun this cycle once again. It's time to begin this cycle once again. The tunnel shines bright light of spirituality, descended from the interdimensional energy. Love is the only thing that we see as reality, but egotistically drawn to fight struggles, find a balance and juggle my higher and my lower self, destruction, corruption, through sin, observe the infinite end of a universe within. Love for myself has allowed me to befriend all in existence. We all came from the stars, bloodlines from Mars. We do not have to travel far to find the balance within, so we may lose ourselves and all other creatures and humans, so we may love ourselves and all other creatures and humans. Uniformation across all intergalactic nations, incarnate in this world we are facing, reflections of ourselves, reminders of a disconnection from source, governed by the moon, turned into werewolves, creators of a reality and still controlled, paradoxically living, intuitively gifted, karmic veils are henceforth lifted. Through the sands of time I am sifting, through the vibration I send my message. The frequency has risen, the resurrection of the first Christian, not external but the one within men and women. Split from the original celestial division, the galactic mission has been given. It's simple and clear. Take the wheels off the planet and steer. through the nearest black hole in which we will exit out of a white hole. I'm another universe. I'm another one verse, one celestial song, a part of the core of the multidimensional, omni-universal, exopolitically, rhymes unequivocally strewn and sprayed across all intergalactic vertebrae, connection chakra points spread that eons and biblical days. I'm here to portray the truth in multiple forms. The crystalline children are now being born. It is time to terraform and co-create a cosmic fate amongst the stars and races in space. And this one is rejoin the Galactic Federation.
Oh, God.
And then there was one. Life untangled, rhymers undone. Life source drained, vanity explained. Following those with fame, always fight and complain. Answer remains the same. Control with borders untamed, locked up and enslaved, riding the quantum wave through awareness we are saved. Ascend and fade away and live for today and don't play games or get erased from this face. One face, unity of race, consciousness explained, end of human reigns, galactic alliance remains. Our true cosmic place amongst the stars in space. Aware now in case reincarnation takes my next life away. So ascend and pray, not for monetary gains, but an escape from superficial ways. Life is just a phase that will one day be replaced by pure energy, an entirely new intergalactic race. Ooh, last one. This one is called Astral Travel, and it's about my incarnation onto Earth. Astral travel, vibrating high at the center of the galaxy, rematerialize etheric energy, dropping in density, increasing in complexity. To the ends of the spiral I shall go. Planets foam all around, I see a water world in the system of soul. My soul speculate in this illusion, a spacesuit made of skin, into a polarized reality of duality, oneness and sin, carbon-based. Will join the crystalline children. I slowly descend through the ozone. I will be born soon, so I enter a womb. Birth cycle almost ends. You see, I rode the unity wave into this dimension. A fabricated fallacy, I forgot when time became linear. Masculine-based society suppressing her. Feminine energy, killing stargates and other etheric tools, going through the wormhole, spinning around like a whirlpool, here to overrule the external in this Earth school. From my eyes, I finally lifted the wool. I reincarnated onto this planet, November 17th, 1982. Thank you so much, everybody. Thank you, Nadi. Really appreciate you. Be in touch soon.
Thank you, Neil. That's extraordinary art transmissions. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Wow.
Love you all. Have a beautiful rest of your day. Stay tuned. We'll be back with another live show next week. And tomorrow, Barbara, if you're still in the room, we have on Portal to Ascension YouTube scheduled Barbara Lamb's last presentation at the Hybrids Conference. So same time tomorrow, youtube.com/Portal to Ascension. You get to watch, we haven't released this yet, a whole hour-long presentation from Barbara on hybrids. So see you guys later. Bye, Nadi.
Rock. Bye.
Thank
Bye,
you.
everybody.
Love you all. Bye.